I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you are behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains that last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Gonna learn the consequence of being incompetent. Mental health is confidence, dreams into modestness. I'm not here to save the day, that's for you to take away. I could play a million mind games, but instead I say something not illogical, something that is topical. Rub it on and watch it go, make yourself unstoppable. Dreams are irresponsible, but they're always possible. If you just believe, you could be so remarkable.
Thoughts in my head, a collage and they spread. I'll be great one day, going off of my meds. No, I'm not giving up, no, I'm not giving in. I will make it to the top, taking off in the wind. I gotta make it, I'm saving every day to taste it. I'm patient, but my mind, it can hardly take it. I'm chasing a dream that I've had for several ages. A vacant, modern kingdom for the taking.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever
Hello, hello. So, am I audible or not? Okay. Let me connect my. Okay. Okay. Let me
For the fake.
If you wanna play tough,
hello, 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 hello,
if you
hello,
wanna play tough,
hello, 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 hello,
if you
hello.
wanna play tough,
I think my voice is not audible. Hello, hello, hello. Let me connect. My voice is not audible. Hello, hello, hello. Let me connect. My voice is not audible. Hello, hello, hello. Let me connect. My voice is not audible. Hello, hello, hello. Let me connect. Hello, 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 hello. My voice is not audible. I think we should. Hello, hello, hello. Let me connect. Hello, 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 hello. My voice is not audible. I think we should. Hello, hello, hello. Let's start the video. Let me connect. Let me complete this video first. Hello, hello. My voice is not audible. Hello, hello, hello. Let's start the video. Let me complete this video first. Hello, hello. My voice is not audible. Hello, hello, hello. Let's start the video. Let me complete this video first. Hello, hello. My voice is not audible. Hello, hello, hello. Let me complete this video first. Hello, hello. My voice is not audible. Hello, hello. Let me
your machine install TypeScript globally. So you can run npm install bash g TypeScript to install TypeScript locally on your machine. If you are facing any issues, you can just go to repair for now and create a fresh TypeScript file to practice what you're doing in real days. Let's say I'm going to do the same thing. Basically follow the instructions here if you want to do it locally. If not, open a TypeScript later on its you can test everything here. Right. First command done. And run npm init dash y. This will do what? Create a package or JSON file. Right. Both of these will work. Either ESC dash init or npm dash init. At this point, if you face an error that says the TypeScript version is not correct, you have like version TypeScript locally, is when I would just go to repair for now and actually fix errors. So we call error point com. No really if you install TypeScript fast will not use the code. Really, it's going to go through this. Right out, by the end you have a package or JSON, case on npm is installed, use npx stands for no package executable. It lets you run a package without no officially installing it as a handle. Right, same time we'll have to do it. So let me go back to the slides here. And then we'll proceed. How your TypeScript code gets converted to JavaScript will change based on how you tweak these parameters. There are a lot of these here, even I don't know all of these, but we'll go some popular ones that will make some sense of each of these instances. This file, what does it contain? It contains a bunch of configurations. How do you want to convert your TypeScript file to JavaScript? What does that contain? Contains the dependencies that you have, exactly, and the name of project version, description, so on and so forth. This will now opens and package JSON has nothing.
Hello, 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 hello. So yeah, I think my voice is audible. Okay. Okay, so much means I can now speak also and watch my video also. Sorry for that because I don't have any idea how this system actually works. Means I was having some issues regarding how I can or hear the audio lecture as well as also record my audio because my audio capture device doesn't have any speakers. So I connected my Bluetooth earphones, and that comes with the auxiliary service of also of recording the audio as well as listening that audio back. I can also watch any video and I can also record the audio and stream into my software Prisma, and that will be streamed into my YouTube. So now you guys can actually hear my YouTube stream in my audio also in the page.
This ps config as nearest is the config of your TypeScript code. Next thing I will do is create a new file here and call it a.ps, not js, ps, give it a .TypeScript extension, and then type code here. To kicking off, write this code there. On x, colon number equal 1, console x. After you write this code, you know there are x cookies, everything looks fine. You have a basic code that you write. If you write it in JavaScript, you write it once x equal 1, console x. If you are writing it in TypeScript, you are giving an explicit value. This x is a number. Similar to in C++, we write this in TypeScript 1. So that's how you give a type to a variable in C++. In TypeScript, whenever you define a variable, you give it a type like this. Once type, open the terminal, convert your TypeScript code. Open the terminal and see if you have the ESC command. You do run ESC space dash v. If you don't, then npm install dash v TypeScript followed by ESC space dash v. This will convert your TypeScript code to JavaScript. If you look at the file structure now, you will see a newly generated a.
Okay, so basically the difference between TSC build and TSC with the name of any file, that TSC uh, build will take all the reference files in a project and make a optimized build for it, and TSC build and TSC with any file name will just transpile that file. This is a very long prompt. Let's check what each means. The watch is similar in
But your text code browser. If you look at the file structure now, you will see a newly generated a.js file. We can simply use the command ps space what is the file that you created a.js. What is the file that the TypeScript compiler created a.js. File says explore the a.js file. Notice it does not have a colon number here. It went away. Why? Because it's not a TypeScript file. The final file that is created, the final file that you always run is the JavaScript file. TypeScript is just a syntactical language that gets compiled and bound to JavaScript. That is exactly what happened here. You have not JavaScript makes your code more. Usually, rule of thumb, you never have to look at the final a.js file. As time goes by, simply, but as you do more complex solutions, this gets super heavy because this is something that is not human. So this fairly have a lot of fairly code. You should not have to look at ever. Just for now, we're looking at how this JavaScript code looks like, even the original TypeScript code. Notice how there's no TypeScript in JavaScript file. It's just plain old JavaScript with no text. Now, read a.js and add some sort of error in TypeScript file. Introduce anything that is indirect. For example, if you go execute here, this is indirect. We do not have a strictly typed code. TypeScript is strictly typed. JavaScript is strictly typed, but TypeScript is strictly typed. You cannot do this in TypeScript. In fact, if you try to do this, it gives you an error. For me, because this is a constant. Let me select. It still gives you an error. String is not assigned to a number. This is where the power of TypeScript comes into picture. Now, if you try to write a code, TypeScript compiler is again. If you try to convert this code to JavaScript, TypeScript says sorry, TypeScript is not assigned to a number. Found one error. I'm not going to create a final a.js file. You have an error in your code base. This is an error. It adds type safety to your JavaScript code. You will right run this code. No, that's all for this slide. Let me go quick code. I'm hoping everything's pretty straightforward here. And you can see questions at the end of the class. This is warming up right now. Just understanding the syntax of TypeScript you're going to learn at this point. It's a little hard, but things to learn how to give types to arguments of function. Now, I would urge you to write a function where the function's arguments need to have types. Write a function that reads the user given their first name. Argument, this is one argument called first name. It should log hello first name on the screen and should not return. Write like this code, maybe even without text. Just write a simple function in your a.js file called greet, which takes first name as in first. Let me also call this function. Take 20 seconds to write this code on the side. There's also a solution you can copy from here as well. This is the final solution. This is not the final solution. This is how you write the same thing in TypeScript. So JavaScript. If you want them to do this, in fact something extra which you actually see here, the argument needs to be back. That's what else is right now. First, I just code in the middle there. And most things const x colon any equal to 1. The input argument is a string, and this is for you assigning to that. That's what I need here. Now, if I combine it, it will work. You might ask yourself, what is the benefit here? You have to basically give it a type. If you are going to do this much, if you're going to do this much hard work, put a type here. Why can't you as a developer just make sure you are passing type here? How is this something better? You can have this much hard work of putting a type here. The answer is that the code base comes bigger. A lot of people call this function, and they might miss out having syntax like 7 7 input or string and number. So for them, for future references, for everyone else who be able to understand what does it expect, is it change this number without actually looking at the code, just by looking at the function's nature, they can see what inputs this function expects. This is what TypeScript gives you along with the method. Now, if I was not this function, but find different file I was using it, I would just hover over and see how this function expects a string as input and returns void example. Weird words, but this actually will see gets I have to call it. It is first name here. I could just call it and hover over it and see gets argument first name of the and first name is a string. Rather than just put in a string. That is why TypeScript is powerful as a project. Those are what we have to learn this part. How to provide types to argument. Yeah, I need to do something. Last name is something. So on. Alright. Quick pause here. And most things before we proceed to the next one. Also, we'll be quick pause. This part here. Some function. Take call it. That's something extra. It says the function is this a number, b number, and this function returns a number. Function. These are the arguments, and this function returns this. In this case, now this number. You do two numbers input, but these are the input things. Can you guess why? Because might be able to understand. Why this will return a number. You don't have to explicitly return a number. Usually, put practice to return a number. Or return type chances to return a number. It will like any. Again, you can only type your logic will be incorrect. TypeScript does not verify the logic. It does not code. You can't type. So if you return a wrong type, it will tell me something is wrong in your code. You return a string, when this number, which returns either true or false based on the age that you're working, which is number which is less than equal, can be right and be right. Function is legal. Basically say type input. First thing, first thing what we learn, how to do inputs to a function, how to give a return value to a function, and type infer is in the TypeScript file. Infer and plain old JavaScript. I have a function called run after 1 second. It takes another function as input and runs the other function after 1 second. Do you understand this code to begin with? I can call this like this. This is what I call callbacks. You can pass a function as an argument to another function. Do you understand the logic we get to what the types are here? Do you understand the logic of this? If you quickly have this okay, okay, perfect. If you understand the logic, and you understand if you understand how do you give a function a type? What is the type of the function that the user can use input? Here you learn something new. The type here is bracket open bracket close arrow void. Okay, this is a function that expects no arguments, as you can see, function that we pass here has no arguments, and it returns nothing. It returns void. It is returned Then I will set this is the function that returns number that is what I expect as input. But since I know it's not returning anything, it is a function that returns nothing. That is what I'm doing next here. Right. The thing to learn is how to give the type of a function. Until now, I return function some a number, b number, return the number. This function has a type. You see, a number, b number, colon number. This is the type of this function. Similarly, if you want to pass a function as an argument, this is how you give the type of the function. It is function expecting things as input, returns void as an output. This will come later on. If you don't understand this one, this is only useful enough to explicitly pass a function over the function that we call codec. You see where this is later on. Good to know if you understand this one. What you should practically understand is this one. Passing arguments, which are numbers or integers or strings, return value for the specific thing, and this can be inferred implicitly. These three things we need to know here. This part is the function. What is the type of the input? The input is not a string or number, but a function. This is what the arguments of function are. This is what it returns. Void means it returns nothing. This true here, this function returns nothing. This is important to know this is very useful. You don't understand from this. Okay. Cool. Quickly, four things we learned. Giving arguments to a function. And lastly, let's move on to the next slide. A few of these arguments. Let's think of the first one. This is called target. The target option in the file specifies the ECMAScript target version to which the TypeScript manually compiles the TypeScript code to it. Basically, if you remember, I told you guys, okay, there's a bit of organization called ECMAScript, or ECMA whatever, which release every year. This is how JavaScript should look like. For example, if you remember, okay, functions can do this. You have this functions behind these, which help on the browser, and then all the browsers like Chrome, all the emojis and everything needs to change the code to be able to understand and pass these new things about it. When you're writing TypeScript code, you can write in the most modern syntax. You can write in but in your case, configuration, like target the final ECMAScript version which should be compiled onto that, and you can specify something. It needs to be compiled into 20, 19, 18, ES5, ES4, whatever you feel is the place that your final browser should say your application you're writing TypeScript. You are giving to people running Internet Explorer, and Internet Explorer is no maintenance Explorer code. Internet Explorer does not understand what type of function. So Internet Explorer means the JavaScript file is functions like this, and not like this. Does that make sense? Internet Explorer, the old browser. Does not support ES2020. It only supports a very low version of ES. It does not understand all types of files. How can you help the TypeScript compiler? Even though I write TypeScript code like this and a function, compile it down to simple JavaScript code that can run in Internet Explorer. The answer is this target in case something. So open case something and search for target. It says ES2016, which is a relatively modern version of ECMAScript, which understands arrow functions. If you write an arrow function here and try to compile it down to ES2016, in your final a.js file, you will still see an arrow function. But if you compile it down to ES5, this is a much older version of ECMAScript. You will see where I good function name and then this is no longer did this get converted into an arrow function. This got converted into a plain old simple function. Just how things were done until ES8 for the official version. So what does this take to specify? The target. So what's the final version of JavaScript code? Why is this useful? Now you can write modern code in your TypeScript code. Or you can tell the compiler my code is running in Internet Explorer. So please compile it down to ES5 version. Then the compiler takes care of converting your arrow functions into plain old simple JavaScript functions. Cool. Hopefully that's straightforward. Let me do it. Not straightforward. It's easy to understand. Beautiful. Let's move on to the next one. These are important. Root and out root represents where should the TypeScript compiler look for your TypeScript place. The problem with the code right now is in my ES file is in the root folder. My JS file was on here. It will become much harder for you to see. Get chances that extra layer change here. This is my last try. This is auto generated. I should not change code here. It's much harder to keep track of files if they are showing the same folder, specifically the files. So what you can do is, what the standard procedure is, you create a source folder, src, and here you put a.ls. All your text code resides inside the source folder. You need email anything else, yes. Then delete. You can uncomment this option. The root directory is ./src. Root directory is ./source, and out directory is ./list. People who have it might not be able to do so well. But people who have it locally, if you change outdated.list and rooted to ./source, now if you run psc-v, you will notice the a.js file is created in the disk folder and is big from the source folder. Now if I node this/a.js, that is my code. That's a better structured application, which is why anytime you see initializing new project on YouTube, live and creating node project, this is the first thing I do. After initialize script, I change the rooted, I change the outdated, so that the project structure slightly well. The other benefit is, like now, introduce a git ignore file. You want all files or folders to my git ignore, and here I can put this. Here I can put this. This is the folder that's auto-generated. I should not push it to GitHub. One important noise. You never push this final JavaScript file. code without even node modules, without this folder. You don't need to commit this folder. Only your original TypeScript code, your package or JSON and your JS config get committed to GitHub. The file in this folder, whoever is developing this project, they are maintained on page or the ESC/DOP to actually create this. Never commit this on GitHub. This is why I added this folder to main.git. Alright, cool. Root it up here. No implicit any. This is also a sort of important one. If you remember, if I don't give an option here, a type says has an any type implicitly. It implicitly has an any type. And that is because this because your JS config has no implicit any. It says parameter has an any line implicitly has an any type, and that is because this comes because JS config has no implicit any as true. If in the code base there should be an implicit any. But if you want to make your code base slightly less strict, if you want to make sure that for now this transition from the JavaScript code base to a TypeScript code base, we don't want to give arguments explicitly to all functions. We just slowly incrementally do it. So that if you want to just run for now, you can set this to false. And what that do, add here. Even if you don't do implicitly any, explicitly any, I will implicitly assume the type any. I will not complain. Versus if this was true, then compare it. They give me a type. When it's used, usually this is used when you're moving from a JavaScript code base to a TypeScript code base, because over there are 1,000 functions, you don't have the time to give it types. You know, in one go, you split this off for now. You incrementally add type to your code base as an application. That's something I need to do. And eventually, you feed this back to. That's how strictness is sort of controlled in TypeScript code base. There is no implicit any, and as you remove comments, and how you can reward their description like, and give you a few, and give you an idea of what do these arguments actually do. Remove comments as the name suggests. If it is true, then we have any comments here. They will not appear in your final JavaScript file. I have hidden comment in my TypeScript file. Does not appear. Remove comments true. But I expect it to not appear. Let's see. You see, just here. There you go. There is no comment here because I said remove comments true. But if I make it false, then recompile my project. I see the comment here. You don't read the comments in the JavaScript file. I don't read it. It's the only thing that stands. You only read. The TypeScript file, let's send the there. There's no point of bloating up the JavaScript file with comments. This is why you can set this to true in the first set by default. Cool. These are some important case config configurations. Are there more? There are all of these. We will not read probably not, but there's a few that as time goes by might be good to explore. If you see there's something important that I know of it. I mean, this is important. We get to deploying to npm. This is important one which has so much important. But let's leave it for now. No, we need to understand any other configuration. Just check. Cool. Quickly tap. You understand TypeScript. What is TypeScript? What is TypeScript compiler? We write some basic programs. Understand how to create functions in TypeScript and text. We understood type inference, and then lastly, we understood some basic case config configurations that we can change. Now, let's understand two important concepts. Number one is interfaces. And number two is the next slide. This is important. So my attention here is speaking of interfaces. Take me the way. On the we do a make mess decorating and interfaces. Let's do a small mess guys. Then you chat till then. Post interfaces. How are we doing other than that? People in college please this is your time. Cool mess making something. Doing a break. Right. We're gonna try to if you skip those slides, you feel slightly you drop all of these slides. We will learn from these ones. If you're trying to drop right. Let me open chat now. Some questions. Wow, look at them. In fact, we have to function call function working for me to show function call the function. Okay. Basically, it was this function call after 1 second. Set timeout CV after 1 second. There you go. Quickly installing PS configurations. Installing PS TypeScript project is as well as PSC-T. This thing right here. That's data. PS configure this one file. And the important ones here out there where you want to store your file. Source where you want to pick. The root where you want to pick your source code from. And a bunch of other things. Two arguments we can log actually. We will be providing types to a function whenever we are creating them. So why provide it to the passing function? We will be providing types to a function whenever we are creating it. So why to provide it to the passing function? Why provide a passing function? Well, you don't provide a passing function because we have no this any turners too. So if you look at this, it's basically this has basically any type. That is good for you. Give it right here. This is good for you. You can always do this any other way. So this is fine as well. checks. Zord is verifying those arguments. This is doing compiling. Between Zord and TypeScript is Zord runs when your code is actually executing on browser in Node.js. TypeScript compilation effects happen during compiling. TypeScript could say JavaScript. That's a big difference between Zord. Everyone making changes in PS5, you have to delete PS5 and then delete it. If I make a change here, for example, I'm going to delete my file, I close this and then recompile and then do it, you'll see the new code has appeared. In VS Code, you'll see scale, code, just close it and compile. Install user dependency, PSC, anyway. Install dev dependency, so PSC dash network. You will get PSC as a CLI if you install it globally, npm dash delete it. Then you can get PSC as a CLI, command line interface, or command if you install the dependency. Why is this function running? Let's see. I saw the same thing as the previous. I was like, design. Why is this function? Even though it runs 5 here. Let's see. Function. Do something. Wants to do something. I'm basically I was basically is okay, like because return and I did this. I thought same thing was ready to I'm like, let's see if I can give you an answer. Do something to do. Number. Okay. Equal to this thing. What? I have to Google something. This is a good question. I was thinking the same thing. Look at this. This has a type that says function that returns void. Arguments can do see it, but when it returns 5 here, why is it not getting I don't think you can opt in better. How do you send logout alert to the user without user saying from the old device? When he's logging from another device, you are not using a socket. Same sending devices. Okay. If people is a skill update. If people is a skill update, what usually happens? When you log out, the person's cookie the token gets expired, then the browser gets expired, and hence anytime you send a request failed, and browser tells you, bro, you are logged out. You know, it doesn't happen. It's not a person solution. It's just that whenever you're sending auth request, your next auth request will fail because your token will be expired on that. How can we convert a micro to mono repo? Why should we go mono? What's a micro to probably multiple folders? There are 10 reasons to have mono repo. Your share code being the built-in infrastructure. We will discuss this on each. Double repo, use lockout and save the tokens. How to do it on the backend? You can store the tokens in the device and set revoke as true if they belong to my device. That's what happens here. Again, trusted token. If you log in, one person automatically it said here alert here said you have questions. I'll log in and clone up. Same thing. You revoke. Basically, don't have transitory tokens in the device. What do you mean transitory? Just if user logged how do you send logout alert to the user without the user sending request on the old device? When he's logging from another device, you are not using WebSockets. Please explain when I'm asking interview question as well. Okay. If people, I mean, this is slightly off topic. What will usually happen is you don't give a logout alert. The person's cookie gets expired, their token gets expired, the one that they have in the browser gets expired, and hence anytime they send a future request, the request gets failed, and then the browser tells you, bro, you are logged out. You don't, it doesn't happen. It's not a persistent WebSocket connection. It's just that whenever you're sending an auth request, your next auth request will fail because your token will be expired on the backend. How can we convert a micro to mono repo? Why should we go for mono? What's a micro repo? Probably multiple folders. There are 10 different things to have mono repo. You can share code between them. The build times are faster. We will discuss this very soon when we reach double repo. And lastly, if user logs out and saves the token, so how to revoke it on the backend? You can store their tokens in a database and then pass set revoked as true if they log in from another device. That's what happens here as well. Right? Here the classes are coded in. If two people log in, one person automatically gets logged. As you can see, it said here an alert came that said you have 2 sessions, so I will log you out, and I got logged out. Same thing happens here. You revoke basically don't have transitory tokens in that case. What do I mean by transitory? You don't have them not stored in the database. You actually store the tokens in the database and you revoke them. Oh, we're at time. No implicit any. Let me quickly explain and we'll proceed. No implicit ending basically means basically when you have some code in TypeScript, you have to give it a type explicitly. This is a number, this is a string. If you have no implicit any set as true, but if you have it set as false, then it will just assume case ka type is any, which is basically means it can be anything. So in TypeScript, if you want a very strict code base, you want people to explicitly say कि या तो ये any है, or this is a string, or this is a number, or if you want कि for now it is fine, just assume implicitly. Say I give you a user object like this. How will you create the type of this? It has 4 keys, not 1. First name, last name, email, and age. To assign type to the user object, you can use interfaces. It's basically a way to combine multiple things in a single object. If you have an object that looks like this, you can create what's called an interface. Okay, bhai, my user will have these 4 fields. And that's how you can get type checking in your code base. Let's look at the first assignment to understand this a little better. Create a function is legal that returns true or false if a user is above 18. It takes user as an input. Let's try to write this code. There's a solution here, but would urge you to write it yourself. It says create a function called is legal Let's return true, else return false. What is the type of user? How am I calling this? I will call this like this. First name, which is a string, last name, which is a string, and then age, which is a number. I have this, and then this user is also, okay, you define the interface user and then use that as an argument. This is no longer number or string. This is capital USER. Which is an interface which has multiple fields, first name, last name as well. Provide or not provide. Then you can say that email is a string, but optionally user can pass it if they want, user cannot pass it if they want. It depends on the user, whatever the user wants. So now I can pass the email if I want. If I don't want to pass the email, still I have no compilation errors. I see no, if I type username, it'll give me red squiggly. But if I write email here, it's not giving me a red squiggly because email you can put. If you don't want, you cannot put as well, because I've put a question mark here. Question mark means, yeah, this is optionally added. You can add it if you want. If you don't, that's fine as well. Cool. That's the first use case of an interface. Let's see the other thing. In React, because TypeScript isn't just a Node.js specific thing, you can use TypeScript with React as well. Let me quickly show you how to do this. You don't look at the screen and make npm v. And now, after you select the framework, select TypeScript as the language. Don't select JavaScript. And now you will have an empty React project that you can open in Visual Studio Code. Let me quickly do it. But this React project is in TypeScript and not JavaScript. If you look at the, again, you have to follow along with this. Just try to understand this. Yeah, how can you do the same thing in TypeScript? Let me remove all the code here. I'm just showing you an application of TypeScript in React. How would you write real React code in TypeScript? Now that you have this code base, what is the assignment? The assignment says, create a React component that takes to-dos as an input and renders them. So if you create a React component that takes a to-do as an input, let's say, what is the arguments that it expects? It expects maybe, the title, the description, and then whether or not it is done. And based on these arguments, it renders the thing, right? H1, title, H2, description, so on and so forth. But here, as you can see, it's again saying has implicitly any type. You have defined an argument, you have not given it any type. So if you basically initialize a React project in TypeScript, whenever you're defining a component which takes arguments, again, you can write it like this, you can write it like props, either one of them works. This syntax is also fine. The thing to notice is props needs to be given a type. And what will the type be here? I can be like to-do prop, which I can define as an interface. Okay, bhai. To-do prop, this function's props needs to have title, which is a string, description, which is a string, and done, which is a boolean. So this is how you would give types to a React component. You can write it like this. You can also write it the other way, where you can replace props with, an object which has title, description, and none. Both of the syntax is the same. Let me revert to the cleaner syntax or easier to understand syntax, I guess. You would give types to a React component. You can write it like this. You can also write it the other way, where you can replace props with, an object which has title, description, and none. Both of the syntax is the same. Let me revert to the cleaner syntax or easier to understand syntax, I guess. And now if I write to do here, if I type T, it shows me title is a property that I can give as an input. Go to gym. And whatever the other properties, like description is a property I can give, so on and so forth. So this is how you would add the same thing in React. Anytime you're defining a component, if the component expects expects any arguments, you have to give a type to that argument. And this props is of this type. That's what the question was as well. I think it was a little different when the question was. Let's look at the solution. It is slightly different from what I wrote here. This is for a to-do component. This is also a to-do component, but the arguments are a little different. This expects a to-do. Here I expect a title description done. Feel free to look at either. But the point is, whenever you're defining a component in React, the properties, right, the arguments that it gets needs to be given a type. And this is the right way to give the type. What is the wrong way to give the type? You can just write any here. If you want to just get rid of squigglies for now, you can be like props any. Give me anything, does not matter. You have to give it something though, because otherwise it will complain. Okay, props implicitly has an any type. This is the ugly solution to get rid of the squigglies for now. This is the more elegant solution. My props that I expect look something like this: title, description, and done. And then whoever is calling me or whoever is rendering me needs to give a title, a description, and then done equal to false, let's say. If I try to give something extra here, it will most probably complain. Subtitle. If I try to give something that it does not expect as an input, as you can see, it is giving me a red squiggly. So this is how you can add type checking to your React code base. Is that clear? You should try this out later on yourself, but most projects you will see, every project you will see, that uses TypeScript with React, all the components will have, type checking like this. All right, cool. 90% good, not great, but we will proceed. Have you take questions at the end. Implementing interfaces. This is again good thing to know, not really used for the longest time, if at all, if I'm being honest. But let's go through it because it's like something to check box. We have done this. Implementing interfaces. Interfaces have another special property. When you define an interface like this, you can implement interfaces as a class. What does that mean? Let's look at it. Let's say you have a person interface. Okay, bhai, a person can have a name, have an age, and have a greet function, which, as you can see, a function which returns void. These three properties a person can have. Then you can define a class that implements person. Okay, bhai, this person will have a name and a string. In the constructor, I'm going to take n and a as an input, name and age as an input, set the name and age for this specific object as these inputs, and then define a greet function which takes a phrase as an input, and then console.logs phrase space this dot name. Too many things happening. Let's break it down.
Hello, hello. So yeah, okay. Let's start the video again. I think I have taken a rest of 20 minutes off. So let's continue.
Types, primitive types. It also has functions in there. You can use this to implement classes. This is, if you remember object-oriented languages a little bit, if you've done Java a little bit, it's very common there. You implement interfaces in Java. Same thing here. Okay, you can implement this. Okay, bhai, whenever someone wants to create a person.
Let's do another video. So now let's skip this. I will intro, I will continue. So now let's go to 10. Mhm, let's see. This is the one. Two, and let's create a video. So compile to equal to continue.
This is where you can find. This is short url.at/adgcast. I'm sure somewhere in Discord he has posted the same thing. So feel free to open the slides. It's not a very slide heavy class, if I'm being honest. We'll spend 20 minutes at max revising a few CSS concepts, understanding a little bit how you can write the same CSS in Tailwind, and then we'll dive right into Tailwind. The goal is for it to be a hands-on class. More specifically, for us to build a few things in a live assignment that was done by a friend who got hired at Dukan. So we basically try to, I don't think we'll be able to do the whole thing in 2 hours, but understand as much of, what is that assignment? Needs submission, or more specifically, what was expected to build something like, come on, where is it? Style action purely build something very close to this more specifically. We'll understand how you would build elements like these, structure them, position them. If you're using Tailwind as your styling library, everything you see on this page can actually be built purely using Tailwind. It can be built using pure CSS as well, but we will not write pure CSS. We'll understand the primitives of Tailwind and how you can build most probably every element treated time in the end. You want to understand how to make it responsive as well. That means the time responsive is the sidebar collapsing way, and you have to open up everything is very straightforward. To do all of that using Tailwind, that's how you class 7.5. So I think we take off. Let's get into it. Keep your keyboard ready because we're going to be hands-on class. Back to your code on Tailwind CSS. Let's get into it. Things to know in the front end framework. So if you've gone through the CSS class, you know what you have already. You can write cross CSS, and there are thousands of frameworks that do the same thing. If you're switching from one framework to another, the bare minimum thing you need to know is flex, grid, responsiveness, and standard styling. For example, background to textile, what happens if our background things, how can you change states, when you are if you know all this, you have the basic foundation of building a website. That I just showed you in the beginning of class. So the goal is, okay, we understand how all of this is done in box CSS, in Tailwind CSS, and then use Tailwind CSS to build a website. All of this is enough to do whatever you want to do. Let's kick things off with flex. This was part of the CSS class. From you don't understand. Go back to CSS class. High level, what is flex? Flex lets you position elements right next to each other. More specifically, if you have multiple divs, for example, here I have div 1, div 2, div 3, I can position them right next to each other if I'm using flexbox. This practice is wrong for me, but I'll show you why quickly. Here I have to right. Code that looks similar to this, and you can let you put 3 divs right next to each other. This is what flexbox is. It lets you position elements right next to each other. More specifically, position divs right next to each other, which is common use case on websites. You get the website building. 3 divs are placed next to each other. So you need to have divs. I open the console, you see this div. Let me show you. As you can see, there's a parent div which has 3 children. Div 1, div 1, div 3. All the are positioned next to each other. For this, you need to select the text. So that's the first thing you need to know how you do it in CSS. Like this, how you do it in CSS is the question. But before that, along with telling that these children need to be next to each other, it's a good idea to tell how these children should be positioned next to each other. For example, if you want them to be spaced equally, you can use justify content as space between. There are high level 5 values you can provide to justify content, which basically means all my children, how should they be placed next to each other? Should they be placed all at the beginning, which is the default value? If you don't give any justify content, basically means all these children should be at the beginning. Text end means all these things should be at the end. Center means all of them should be positioned at the center. Space between most probably it seems like you have to write code like this basically rather than doing the image style equal to an object. You have to do image class equal to a bunch of left. What is this? All the adding for this is
Yeah, so this video is too primitive for me. Let's choose another one.
So feel free to go there. 3000 in the root folder.
Okay, so let's do this.
Mass for it, which basically means this file right here in Visual Studio Code that would let us put data in the database. Step 3, we created a routing structure. You can create it in various ways. The one slash API slash v1 to the main router slash user to the user router is where all my requests will get handled. Here I will get a router slash and add include first is false. Clicking on that. JSON. JSON web token, the library that you will use to eventually. And lastly, listening to port 3000. Listening web to an but how's the video running on Zoom? This is extremely irritating. Move there. Names was better. 747. Hopefully that's already one. Padding is done now pretty bad here. Router dot post slash make sure the schema is valid. Then check if these exists. If they do exist, then stop the send the request right there. Or if the success, if the validation is correct, we use that user and then also stop right here. Else create a new user, get the ID, create a token, return the response. the standard flow we have done many times now. The only extra thing is we are making sure no user can sign up twice with the same email. We are making sure extra validation layer they're not sending us any anonymous data. We are ensuring that the username they send us is a valid email because this is this validation you should do. Right? Ideally, what you should do, ideally you should send out an OTP here to the user, a verification email, which the user will click on and they'll actually sign up. The body 24%. For people who understand, finish the sign out as well. Right? Select the sign out terminal from backend slash whatever. You know what's the way offline, totally your word. Any more questions? Where is 25% stuck? Is it just taking some time to do it? There will be an offline video for this, yes. How can we add OTP? Yeah, so look at syndicated APIs. You can do without databases as well. You know, if you've seen this auth application, like you do. Oh, sure. My camera is visible. I think it's here, which I'm very apologize for. Okay, so actually, the process there API would be API key and standard authenticated request IDs. You see bearer as the first word, space the actual token that the user needs to send. So this token right here is what we fetch here by splitting it by space and getting the second element that the user needs to send. So this token right here is what we fetch here by splitting it by space and getting the second element. Decode it and verify it. If a user ID does exist, from here, let's check here, decode it for user ID. Only then route it to the next person.
Okay, so I have to locate where the Europe is pushing your post. Okay. Okay, so let's explore this one. I think it has committed all the four ways. Yes. So I want 8.2, 8.2, 8. Second, Tuesday, I want 8. No, don't have any 8.1. register email is let's save it. Okay. So done with 7.1 class. I want to save 8. National key 8.2. Why is it not? I don't have anything. Okay, so I think we have to create it. Hmm. Backend solution, complete solution. Okay, done. We have to scroll this back and scroll from that. So, 13.
Copy to the next person, and click on 40. You want me to code it myself or is it something else? I'll put this video on my here. So, without this manager. How to restrict user to visit login page, they are not logged in. How to restrict pages? Let's do that in one speech. How to restrict users if they lines need some time to understand this whole thing. Alright, the good thing is the assignment is here with you. Just take your time anymore. Code it yourself. Let me go ahead here. So people who feel like keep moving on guys. Checkpoint 3 again set different block here that if you want to do it. Be able to handle it if you hashing is what you need in this case.
So, Hercules is suggesting to read some blocks. So, let's go there. Also, blog hashing password and use here. Blog slash blog slash hashing slash hashing. Mm, mm, yes, yes. So we will, I will read it later. For now, let's
There's also another result, which is another standard popular question. Gmail is probably sort of important to discuss it. Quickly discuss this. If this is your database, you want to first. This is good because no Facebook employee can now see Hackers password is 123456 or ILFD if you have password. Another big reason this security matters is also laws around it. You should not store passwords in plain text in the database. Another reason is that people repeat passwords. So if this is my password and I repeat it on Google, then a Facebook employee who can snoop in the database can actually log in my Google account. Another thing that I was using was the concept of salt, which basically means that if Hackers password is 123456 and even Bill Gates password is 123456, and Hackers is an employee at Facebook, Hackers can see
Okay. what reason of salt in art and how it is implemented in industry grade state level. Mm, yeah. Again, okay, what is not responding? Yeah, give it to me. Mm, okay. If authentication system sort is randomly generated string of characters added to a user word before it is hashed and stored, this might seem counterintuitive as the hash password can no longer be decrypted to retrieve the original clear text format. However, sorting serves several crucial purposes in enhancing the security of the authentication system. Rainbow table attacks, you compute a database of hash values to compute common passwords. Choose a strong hashing algorithm. Use algorithm designed to design for password hashing like bcrypt, rm2, crypt. We have to read it clearly. For now, let's skip it. I will do it later.
Okay, while my and Bill Gates, both of our hashes are the same, and if my password is 12346, then of course Bill Gates' password is also 12346. So before you actually hash someone's password, you should add a unique salt, which is basically some salt on top of this original password, which should be random string for a let's say it's, a one. For Bill Gates, let's say it's Bill 1. And then a combination of this should get hashed before storing in the database. Same thing here. That way, even though our passwords are the same, since this final string is different, our final hashes are different. So no one can guess the passwords are the same. These are the two important things to do before you put the data in the database. Usually the salt is also stored in the database along with the main password. So the hash password and salt is what you put in the database.
Okay. But from now, we have to continue from here. Around with adding, adding, or is that a to differentiate in from oil?
And yeah, so I hope you guys this blog post will take you through all of this if you want to do it. Always do this, a lot of people don't do it. Especially in India people store password in Internet. And why is that? Because you can just copy your user's password. Alright, you got the user routes. You can do a quick poll. So that's okay, good. You can send. So let's do the user routes, which now we use the middleware that we created on step A. What we do here, we create a middleware. Why we do this? Because the next set of routes need to use this middleware. The reason for this is these routes will let the user update their information, for example, their password, their first name, their last name, and a route for user to get other users from the backend. This is a API application where you want to allow users to get their friends from a database so that they can basically show them here. If you go back to the first slide, you might have seen. This is what a final application looks like. So there needs to be a call that I need to make that will return me can I use one user to user tree are part of the database and I can actually search for here. So I can see here, and I can send them money. So we need to expose an endpoint that gives you a list of users that currently exist in the database. The only big caveat here is when you are implementing this, you need to make sure you don't send the password other people back to the front end. That is the only sort of high level thing to keep in mind. Alright, let's look at the solution for updating the user's information. It's this thing right here. Get the auth middleware. This is what you expect as the body. Where the user can send a new password or a new first name or a new last name and you need to put them in the database. And router got put many times as well. Put request. Put is usually used for updating databases. Get users validation, make sure the user sent some key here and then update the user and then send them update successfully. This was a simple route to implement for updating the user information. Whether it be used in a profile page, a person can come and change the password. PPT because you will learn something new here. A lot of times when you're querying your database, you have to ask queries like this. If I give me all users whose name is like HR, basically that starts with HR, ends with HR, has HR, that is how people will on the front end search, right? They'll put HR in the search bar, and the backend needs to return all the users who I have HR in the first name or the last name. How do you do a query like this? We have done exact queries until now. Okay, user.find one, where user what the name is given for updating the user information. Then you ask the front end search, right? They will put HR in the search bar, and the backend needs to return all the users who are the users whose you will learn something new here. A lot of times when you're querying your database, you have to ask queries like this. If I give me all users whose names like HR, basically that starts with HR, ends with HR, has HR, that is how people will on the front end search, right? They will put HR in the search bar, and the backend needs to return all the users who either have HR in their first name or their last name. How do you do a query like this? We have done exact queries until now. Okay, user.find one, where user what the name is here. This type of query we have done. What is the query that we have to now? Where name looks like HR, has HR as a substring. This is very common in SQL databases. It's like if you run SQL a little bit, the query looks like this. Select star from users where name like percentage HR percentage. It's like a very common primitive in SQL databases that you search based on the current the name looking something like this. Where is not common in MongoDB or Mongoose, which is why what does the endpoint need to do? It needs to return users so you can search for them and send them the money. It is a get endpoint which has a query parameter filter equal to the thing that the user put in the input box. Given this input, I need to return them a list of users who have this specific field. This is the first one. There's a hint section here that will basically talk you through number one, how can you do all queries in Mongoose, and number two, how can you do this like thing I was talking about. You can make sure even for substring matches that row should be this like thing I was talking about. You can make sure even for substring matches that row should be returned from the database. Ideally read through these and they will take you through how to do this. The solution if you look at it does a users.find. Now it's not as simple as first name equal to something. It is an or which again if you go through this, you are looking at this stack overflow question. How can I do two queries at the same time? Or which is an array. Either this is true or this is true. If either one of this is true, then that user should be returned. And what is the query, it's not as simple as first name is filter. It is first name regex filter. This index is what you can use to match the substring in the final row and not the whole string. If there is a first name which has SKR in it somewhere, that will be returned, or if there is a last name which has SKR, that will be returned. How many here? It's actually pretty most standard to do this in Mongoose, but this is the syntax to do like queries. By like I mean how you do like queries in SQL. This is how you do it in Mongoose. And the or is for this you can either mark on the first name or on the last name because the end user can search either one of these in the box. That's what the or query is for. Alright. Cool. How are we doing? Like the goal also you code this yourself, you have to do it in Pango. Then you go to YouTube as well. Oh, camera. Sorry about that. You can see it. 69%. Cool. To maintain structure, let me proceed, but at the same time, let me look at Q&A now. Where are we passing the query parameter in this filter? Great question. To the solution. Const filter equal to rec.query.filter. This is how you get the query parameter, and this is where I'm sending it to the database. How are we doing the Zord validation for the password hash? Zord validation is for end user inputs. End user will never give you a hash. End user will give you plain text password. That is what you validate on. Then if you put the hash in the database, the validation. Is the sample KTM project we're going to do at the end of 0.0? Not exactly. That will not be Mongoose. That will be in Postgres plus phase 1 plus a bunch of things. Can we do text indexing for this schema? For easier search, can you indexing Mongoose? You can do indexing, yes. I think there's a video index on field in Mongoose. YouTube link is right here. Paste it in chat. So, what do you do? Why is Mongo because you can see because that's what's talking now. Is doing index searching Google index user. Yeah, index user is no idea. Indexing is just a way to better search when you have to answer then field in this case is first and last name. You put index on what is the index of what is going to cover in 100. Can you do a detailed recap of now? Yes. Let me do that. And this is what it looks like. This is the mode handler that will handle all the requests coming to /API/v1. Then we said let's introduce a dependency, create a JWT secret that we store on the backend to actually sign the user ID and create a token and finally listen on a specific port in the application. So that's add the backend auth routes. So here on things are a little tricky. Then we start to add 4 routes. Route number 1, sign up. Route number 2, sign in. Route number 3, give me all the list of users that exist in the database. Step number 4, let me update my first name, last name, and my password in the database. These are the 4 routes that we add. Along with these 4 routes, we also add a middleware which lets the user check whether the user has sent the right token or not. And if they have, decode it and let the request stop the request and return back a 4 That is all we've done with step 8. Let me do all this locally and push the code in. So use backend solution and this will give you basically the routes in the backend, find statements the backend should be. And here if I go to user.js, this contains the sign route, the final code that actually runs everything. Alright, we haven't yet reached the final code here in slides, but this has all the final code if you want to try. Alright, let's proceed. Create band related schema. Until now, we only have a single this, and you will know it will be this becoming on the front end. You will show them. Said is good to do here is create references, which basically means if you know this user ID is stable, will always depend on some user here. You can create references which are similar to one piece and skill if you run them. Basically, you'll make sure okay, the code you cannot put a something balance table that doesn't already exist in the user table. You cannot create a balance for someone who's not already a user. To enforce that, you can create references to this depends on the other table. And that way, if you try to put some errors in the database for let's say user doesn't exist, the database doesn't let you, or Mongoose in this case. Alright, this is what the schema looks like. The user schema is already the account schema as you can see. Pretty simple, straightforward. Balance which is number and user ID which is of type not string but Mongoose or schema type of object ID. This basically represents the if you look at the Mongo database server, you see that the IDs are of type this thing called object ID. Let's see if I can find if I add some data here. This thing says OID, basically is like a way or a type in MongoDB, and this specific ID follows certain formalities of certain and so on and so forth. So this, if you want to reference the user table, which basically does what happens if I add this, it ensures I cannot put anything in this account table that does not have a corresponding user here. Only if a user with a certain ID exists, will I be able to put something in the account schema, which will store what? The balance of this user. Of course, the zero immediately, initially you see how you can see data here because you don't have actual banking APIs, so you can't come to application. You have to put money here. So we see something like that. But this is the expected schema for accounts. Is that clear? Go quick here. Again, the solution is already here, so if you go to backend/d.js, you will see the user schema as well as the accounts schema. This is all the balance of the users. Alright. So this is clear. Would love you to go to the next slide, which is the important thing to learn today. If I'm honest, there's one thing that we learned is this. Let me get to that in 2 minutes. Take a pause, take a breather. Let me get to the next slide. Let's meet back at 8:25. Trim to in schema. Trim to is meaning there's some extra space for in the beginning or in the end of the screen. The string, trim it down. Assuming that's what it means. Again, that's what it means. So both things need to be right. So there's extra space in the beginning of the string. If someone wrote their name as space, and trim out from the beginning and the end. That's what trim means. And references, you don't have to references. It's just more, it makes your database more strict by doing this. So what case you want to do this? And this that works as well. When you do this, what happens is, even if there's a bug in your code that let's say tries to put something in the account table, the user ID of this is null, let's say, or it is 1, 2, 3, which is a user that does not exist. The database won't let you. Mongoose won't let you. Mongoose will prevent you from the data in the right there because a user ID does not exist. That is why having a reference here helps. It also helps on cases where you can, if you want to ever search a user given an account, that's easier. But the bigger scenario here was because you want to be very strict, which is that like it will strict. Even if you have some bug in your backend code, let's say put some account schema for user that this, it will do. Can we get all the backend from all users since there's no search? You can get all the users from backend. If there's no search, if you don't pass anything in the filter right here, it will be like give me a user who has an empty space in their name, which every user does. So it's return anything. So yeah, that's why I added or empty string here. So if the user does not pass that filter, make an empty string. What does that do? It searches the database, which is basically everything. How do we get some slides? They're present here. Paste in the chat one more time. What users 88 users? We use 88 users. Whatever is the decimal number that you know your application supports, you can basically publicize this. We only support up to 2 decimal cases. This is basically mean up to let's say this is apart from this. This is the max that we support. Don't ever try to send your friend 88.88 rupees. You won't be able to support it. We'll only send them such. Whatever you publicize, that's 2 decimal cases. And for 88.88 you support 88.88 rupees. For 88 rupees you support 88 rupees. While sending data token, we are not sending data token in the sign route. What makes you think that we're sending data token in the sign route? Sign up success. The module something this, but this does not have the JWT token. step 8 and 9 one more time. Let's do that. Step 8 is the user route. I'm assuming this route is pretty simple. The one that lets the user update their password, first name and last name. The other route lets the user get data from get all the other users from the backend. Let's say I did not have the constraint that the user can search. Let's say I said my UI is very simple. We go back to the original UI. I say to me the UI of our application will have a list of users. Users not allowed to search. This search bar does not exist. If I put that constraint in, this search bar is not needed. Then you can create a simple endpoint that just returns the other users. Then this is pretty simple problem solved. Do a user define, no constraints, and give back all the users. Just make sure you are not returning the password to the frontend. This is why I've done a users.map. Only return username, first name, last name, ID. Don't return the password of the user to the other user. That's the problem. So don't return users as here. Map it to whatever fields the frontend needs. The difficult bit is this filter. The difficult bit is allowing the user to filter based on some constraint. These are the two links that I also think that Google things. How can you implement a live query in MongoDB, and how can you do multiple queries at the same time in MongoDB? And MongoDB, if I want to search either on first name or on last name, I can use the dot or primitive, a user define, or any of these conditions. If any of these conditions is met, that row is considered true. And rather than doing a first name equal to filter, I'm doing first name then X filter. What is X? Is about constraints. If you look at here, you find a few other implementations of
Okay, so this one is important because I have built many applications and I have seen that widget is one of the common patterns that is used widely across industries. So we have to learn this one too. I think it will be not sufficient for me because I have to learn. I think it is essential. Yeah, I think. Okay, so let's drop it for later. I will see that whether it is complete for me or not.
doing a string search. This is the easiest sort of thing to look at, which is I chose. So you actually create questions in JavaScript and Google search. If you look at here, you'll find two ways. But this is the same text to do like searches in the database, and this is to do multiple searches at the same time. If I go to slide 9, this is just creating a schema. The difficult bit here probably is this reference bit. Feel free to ignore it. You don't need this, or even this can be a simple string. The reason I like this is that you see this create on itself. If you add a few very strict constraints to a backend, you will make sure that backend is turn to the database. Even if backend has some bug, the bad backend will also not be allowed to hit the database with their schema. These constraints sort of enforce that. This constraint pretty much enforces if ever in my backend code there's some bug and I try to do a user dot create user ID randomly as query number, Mongoose won't let me. Mongoose will be like, this user doesn't exist. There's no user with this ID in the database, and hence this query will fail if my backend has a bug and it tries to fix the database. If it does not, great. That is why I have a reference here. Alright, cool. Now comes the most interesting bit of this class. So start out here, learn something new today. I've written some code at this point in this code, specifically for banks. There's nothing important here to do with this. If there is a user at some point you went to your bank, sure, give us some of all the user balances they have in the bank, in the at least this much they do have in the bank as their liquid. So whenever a transaction is happening, what is a transaction means here, because transaction means yes. The transaction type of is you sending, if you send this request, one user on the payment you need to make sure either to account ID where you can and the amount that you need to send. And let's say this is the code that I do it. Again, this is something new here. What does dot int balance minus amount means? It means increase the balance of the first user by minus amount. It means increase the balance customer, and this one is increase it by the other. Okay? What does this line do? It will find this user and decrease the balance by this amount, and this line will increase the balance by the same amount. What is the problem? Is suppose if I try to call the transfer function, what would go wrong? Let me open Q&A here and see if you probably have thoughts. Hopefully it's pretty simple. I'm going to do this. We're handling one transaction might fail. Okay, problem is also something. Insufficient balance is also something, which is something that is not checked. Yeah, balance is already used routine. Anyone call is between the routine. Only one thing negative value. Perfect. The first thing is I have not done any check here to make sure this user actually has this user. That's the first problem. We can do that easily. Just go to the next level. You know that was problem. Yeah, that's pretty simple. The bigger problems. What if I call this? And this one is simple call. It takes 3 seconds to do. Control comes back here and then node server dies for whatever reason. The server crashes, I start machine. Or this request goes, the database accepts it, comes back here, and then the database goes down for a minute. Database always go down, they can come back up and get 3% back. Basically, if this partially connects, or half of the recipients, this thing happens, this doesn't happen, vice versa, where it is an inconsistent state, which is simply you want both of these to happen together, or none of them to happen. For which you can do transactions in databases. It's a very common concept across SQL, most databases. If you've done DNS, you've probably heard of it. In an application like this, it becomes super important. You have to somehow wrap this inside a transaction and make sure either both of them happen or neither happen. You have to know if you add a simple if check above, if the balance is zero, then no. If the balance is less than this amount, then stop right here. That also can be problematic. Two requests come at the same time. If this, you might not be tried this. If you want to, a newly created wallet, have you tried, being like 20 rupees to here, immediately 20 rupees to one. If I, what if, I'm able to sneak in, I only have 20 rupees in the bank, but it's Google Pay, and I'm trying my best to, send two transactions easily. Don't put they somehow miss out and end up sending 20 rupees both to Hadir and one.
So we have to learn more concepts in MongoDB, which is transaction, yeah, which is just is which is only step wrapping atomicity to implementing implementing that atomicity atomicity concept and One more concept we have to learn, that is aggregation pipeline, how it is implemented.
because the request comes so quickly. What am I trying to do in that case? I'm trying to fool the if check here. If there was a if check above, that check if 100 has less than 20 keys, then don't do any of these. If that if check was above, if I send two requests together, that if check might succeed for both of them, then I'll make balance 0 in once and then minus 20 in another. So the other case number one, you have to worry about कि भाई the request is not partially succeed. Number two thing you need to worry about is if there's an if check above, it probably needs to run first for the first transaction and the second transaction. Hopefully that's clear. If not, let's look at the code and try to understand what's happening. I also have a final use case of try to send two concurrent requests and we'll see how that is. So right, cool. Let's look at the answer here. The answer was right. That was the solution, I guess. So
Validation in which we have found answer, which will take into account ID and from to from account ID and active account. We
News already. Cool. One thing I have to do before we proceed is try to send it to one of the requests and we'll see how that is. Alright. Cool. Let's go to the answer here. Done the first. Right, that was the question, I guess. So news already. Cool. One thing you have to do before we proceed is initialize balances on sign up. Whenever the user signs up, give them a random balance between 1 and 10,000 rupees. Just so you don't have to worry about monthly APIs. If you actually putting money there, just give them a random balance on sign up. So what I've done, when the user signs up, along with all the things I was doing, I've done account.create. User ID with some random balance between 1 to 100,000 whatever. I am skipping through the, I'm going really fast, I won't take too long because we're at close to 9 here and again, short point. So let me take you through these and you should go to process later on. Create an account with a random balance on sign up so that you have some account balance to pay initially. And then finally, create a new router for accounts. Just how we did app.use slash user router. Do a router.use slash account router. So that all requests that come to slash API slash p1 slash account go to the second router. Again, just for ease of reading code, if you write here, I have all account route handles here in account.js, route.get, route.post, and all the user handles here. In index.js, and the same file request comes here, go where the request comes here, go here. Alright. Don't forget to code this by the way. Alright. Cool. The main point. Let's get to the most interesting bit of this class, which is how to implement this transaction thing in MongoDB I was talking about. The first endpoint you have to implement is an endpoint for the user to get their balance, which is as simple as this. Router gets balance is put to the op middleware here, do a account.find1, some account which has this user ID, and then return account balance. This one hopefully straightforward. Again, not the last to code yourself. And then the second, which is an endpoint for user to transfer money to an account. This one is the PKP where you say log code anymore. New code you have seen is how you create transaction in MongoDB. There you go. This is the input expected. They want to send to this person XYZ money. This is the amount of person to the other person. This is the ID of the other person who wants to send the money to. These are the three codes. One is bad solution, good solution, and the problems you might run into if you are trying to do this yourself completely. Let's start with the bad solution. It basically does not take care of any transactions. It will work unless you do concurrent transactions or unless your database goes down because you have a partially executed transaction. You get the amount less you send. Expected PKP where you say log code anymore. New code you have seen is how you create transaction in MongoDB. There you go. This is the input expected. They want to send to this person XYZ money. This is the amount of person to the other person. This is the ID of the other person who wants to send the money to. These are the three codes. One is bad solution, good solution, and the problems you might run into if you are trying to do this yourself completely. Let's start with the bad sure they have at least that much money. If they don't, then you return them and I say that as insufficient balance. If they do have that much money, you get the to account who are they trying to spend money and does that actually exist? Is that user actually in the database? If not, then return 400. If that is the case, user update one, increase the balance by minus amount, increase the balance by plus amount, and then we'll go. This is a great solution in an ideal scenario where the database you feel like always love, this all of these lines of code from your node processes also always leave up. This is a bad decision to make because both node processes and databases go down from time to time. What is the good solution? How do you do transactions in MongoDB? You first have to create what's called a session. Okay, now I'm going to do a bunch of things together. Please let me know, and if anyone fails, keep it. You create a session. You say I'm starting a transaction. Everything that happens after this needs to either happen together or needs to go back. It will never partially execute anything that comes between session.start transaction to session.commit transaction. Either all of this happens together or none of this happens. This is how data start. This is nothing related to Mongo's doing something special. So you just do something special. In a database, you start a transaction. Unless you commit it, it will not partially execute. And if you commit, everything will execute. It will not partially execute. Okay, what is the two things I have to do? Start a session, start a transaction, and then do the same as you've done until now. Nothing special inside. Basically, fetch my balance, make sure the user exists. When they don't exist, then abort the transaction, so that does not remain hung there forever. And lastly, update my balance, update the user balance, and commit the transaction. If you do this, then your solution is very elegant. It handles both of the cases I talked about, which is number one, makes sure everything happens together. Number two, if someone sends two concurrent requests, also, if someone calls functions almost immediately, B, they can't fool us with this if check. Okay, why do people send concurrent requests? Why do they want to fire up requests of 1,000 rupees or 1,000 rupees? They want to do it to fool this check. So I, for the first person, roll each year, and then after it checks your balance, happened to be, it goes here and remain hungry, like it has not yet updated my balance to zero, and then the other request also comes and that also goes beyond this if check. If both requests go beyond this if check, then that's not right. Then you fool the system and will send within a balance sent basically something you don't want to be able to do. When you're creating a transaction, it also ensures in MongoDB that during that transaction, whatever you have read, repeat, whatever you have read does not get updated in the transaction. If I read something, for example, I read the details of this account, and that got updated while this transaction was running, someone else updated it, then the original transaction will fail. A better way to do this is if I try to do this at the very end, an experiment to ensure that transactions are working as expected. If I create a function, forget all, I create now. If I create a function which simulates a transfer, this function has everything that I talked about until now, create a session, create a transaction, commit a transaction, and if I call it twice, write one after the other, it's basically it will fool this check. While it is stuck here somewhere on this wait, the other request will go in, and then that will also proceed beyond this check. If I try to do both of these together, I'll get this error that says write conflict error. The operation conflicted with another operation. If you try to read on something that has been written on another transaction, the transaction will fail, which will make sure you don't get stuck in the second problem of negative balances. And since the transaction will already the first problem is this doesn't execute partially. As this line will run and this line will not run. Either both of them will run or neither one of these will run. Cool. That was a little bit of a how you manage the code, and then we can actually write the code as well. All of these are doing this after class itself. Try to code it by looking at these Stack Overflows rather than just copying the solution. That's the only way I have. Right. Let me get you. How's YouTube doing? Right, in there. Cool. What's up next? Segment next. If you do all of this, you should be able to increment all the endpoints. And you go to postman and try to get the balance. As you see, I have balance of 2099. If you make a transfer, you should see transfer successful. And you should see my balance go down to 999. If everything is right, then you need to check my these screenshots in the MongoDB database. That is a user table which has all the users, and accounts table which has all the accounts, which has all the balances, 199, so on and so forth. Quickly, let's take a pause here and let me look at YouTube chat and Zoom chat together. It's a front-end basis. Basically, how you create a front-end which I can create off the front-end will something like this. They can do that, for example, could be wrong, but I think the most time-consuming bit of the front-end might be how you create these pretty UIs and not how you can directly put this inside. Put all of this inside a text block, and if there is a text block, then it will be pretty clear. Other than looking at Q&A as well now. How to send two immediate payment requests on phone? What does that send? Immediate request on phone, you take one from the other phone and send requests. We'll never do simulate that. The best way to simulate, concurrent requests is what I've done here, like two concurrent function calls. It's the only way you can actually simulate the transfer happening immediately. If you try to do it from front-end UIs, most of you won't be able to hit the HTTP request. Do you make the like its motion and then iframe on top? It's all motion here. Very interesting how we're using session thingy to be working. The real time UPI actually fails. This is not I'm pretty sure you guys understood. You guys written your bank for a different volume. You pay Indian, you pay basically out of banks. It's banking today. So bank probably does this. Probably hits if you go to a bank, you know, try to twice. You have to do these. I have to do the same cost for you. Things and if you want the more technical definition of session, let's pretty sure I just hint here. I didn't. It's a very nice session. MongoDB. Let me add this result. Client sessions. This is what we're doing to provide casual consistency. MongoDB enable casual consistency in client sessions. A casual consistency client session is not a little bit operational casual issue with client application must ensure that only one thread can execute these operations at a client session. This line probably, hopefully, put it on means that client applications must ensure that only one thread at a time executes these operations in a client session. It should be one of two things which I'm not sure what it means. When you're in the session, your client application only one thread can run this session at a time. It might be because like CSL, two people try to create a session at the same time. How do I use the session? I pick from do not have everything. Basically, this is what I how to create transactions in MongoDB. This is like the next is very simple in Postgres as well. I want to know how do you do this in MongoDB and probably use a blog post like this. It's pretty much the solution. What is the session? I don't know if I look at this code base and code. It's much easier to understand in SQL because over there just when you're writing SQL, you create a transaction and then do all your Are we using JWTs instead of JWTs? Sir, what people do? Okay, tell. That is why I'm very hoping heavily this things are well structured and cool and which is like okay. That's right. This is not deadlock. No, no. They love deadlock. Deadlock is happening. One thing another. They are thinking first. Are we using JWTs instead of JWTs? Sir, what people do? No, that's okay, tell. That is why I'm very hoping heavily this things are well structured and cool and which is like because it's very hard to create 18 childs. Put everything about this is not useful. Then I have to do ad hoc. Then I have to do simple applications. Put anything because it's almost like 6 hours. Structure. Me and a few people had no traders. So this is not useful. I does not have any cycles to having structure like this. Then it's useful anything else. And okay, useful. So people don't use because that's hard to do. Okay, content. Okay. Let me a few questions. Can you explain the session thing once? Yeah, if you really want to explain it, let me. Do you need no? When you create a real application, you create in Postgres. Even if you do raw SQL in Postgres, creating transactions easy. Even if you don't do raw SQL in Postgres, it's not super using much easier. But both are available. Mongo is interesting actually. Slide links. Have to really want to cover sessions in MongoDB. Happy to. But let me tell you, no one using MongoDB. Let's see. But use it. Sorry. Let me do a few questions. Can you explain the session thing once? Yeah, if you really want me to explain it, let me. Do you need it? No. When you create a real Paytm application, you create it in Postgres. Even if you do raw SQL queries in Postgres, creating transactions is very easy. Even if you don't do raw query in Postgres, you use it. Prisma is not really using much easier. But both of these are very simple. Mongo is a little bit when it comes to these slide links. But I'm happy to if you really want to cover sessions in MongoDB. But let me tell you, no one uses MongoDB. Let's see. Where was I? Where was I? I mean, good slide links I post on Discord. I posted a few times now. Come on, guys. Slide link. It's basically go to this website and then there's one project here. I'm basically trying to add. I'm hoping, not trying. See, I'm hoping. Don't take it. Oh shit! I got deleted myself. I'm hoping to add all the slides here with structure like this. If it is useful, I'm not committing this, but it's very hard to do. I can tell you because it took 6 hours yesterday. So we will see. Just need some terms and docs. Make a lot of sense. The only thing, new the session structure and filter, transactions and filters, and one thing which we weren't able to reach to was creating a front end like this. This was a recap. This wasn't. Yeah, we weren't supposed to learn something today. How do I get access to all the slides until now? That you'll find on app.connect.com. Are you talking about? Maybe you're talking about a different session. We've not used any other sessions today. Employing an index in a database system. It's a very complex question. Are you trying to ask, should we use an index or not? Is that your question or something else? Akhilesh. Let me go back to YouTube as well. Can you post on project like these? I will try. Mongo is Postgres friends. Sir, Google it. There are video videos of this. It's very simple. Some people basically put things into data. There are various types of databases, SQL, NoSQL, graph databases, vector databases, all solved for different purpose and expected different sorts of syntax. That's highly different. What are the technical definitions? We've covered this in the MongoDB video. You should go there. So it's actually only one request to the database at a time. Won't this one? No, it will not. Good question. It will not lock the database yet. We've not done that. You can do that as well. You can start locking those and locking the database. We've not done that. We have said we are assuming / hoping. Okay, the same person does not send money to the same other person literally together. So what is being logged here? What will cause conflict here is if anything. If you look at the code here, what will cause conflict here is if during this transaction some other transaction happened that tried to write to something that was being read here. The conflict will only come if a transaction for these two users happens at the same time. If I send to Raman and then person 3 sends to person 4, they can happen concurrently. There won't be a conflict. Conflict only happens when I'm trying to write to something or when I'm trying to read from something that has been overridden in the same transaction during that specific time period during which this transaction happened. Then there will be a problem. So it will only be a problem if the same person is sending money in a very small time span. The storing decimal places is a good question. So even when you use Razorpay APIs or this is storing blockchains as well. I don't know if you've heard, like if you've done Ethereum a bit, but even in Ethereum you never store decimals on chain. Never. Whenever you're dealing with transactions, I don't know if you've heard of this thing called Way or Gway, and then ETH. When you send someone point on ETH, you're not sending them in a database. 0.1 does not go down. This number goes down. You always divide. You never store decimals in a database if you're doing payments. Why? Because there is something called precision errors, which happen both in databases. I'm pretty sure they happen in databases too long. Definitely happen in languages like Node.js, JavaScript, or other languages. Okay, even if let's say 8.8 was stored here, a lot of times when I get this in a variable, what might be stored in a variable might be 8.7999. You never want this in a payment separate. You never want even a 0.00001 to get lost from someone's account. So you have to worry about precision errors a lot when you deal with money. For that reason, you say, bro, we are not supporting decimals at all. We only support integers, both here and here. Whenever you ask me for my balance, I will tell you two things. You have 8,000 units and we have 2 decimal places. So you basically have 80 rupees. Or I will tell you have 80,000 units and we support 3 decimal places. So you have still 80 rupees. What is stored in the database is always this number. Which is like if you hit Razorpay or Stripe APIs also, you will see they return you not 8,000 but some very big numbers with a lot of zeros because that's what's stored in the database. And they have a global setting of we support 3 decimal places. So whenever we're returning you this, assume it is actually just 80 rupees because we don't want to store 80.000 in a database. We want to store some very big number. this also means they don't support anything beyond 3 decimal places. You can never store in Razorpay or some other payment API. Okay, I'm sending someone, or I want to charge someone 8.001. There are certain decimal points until they support it, which for Ethereum, for example, is 18. In Ethereum, you can send someone 0. Max 17.01. It's 9. You cannot send smaller leaves than that. Plan for next 2 weeks is backend basically. Yeah. So back after this. What DBO companies use? Postgres is the most popular one. When the Prisma we covered, that's probably what we covered in the upcoming. TypeScript, Prisma, Postgres, OpenAPI is what's coming in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I want to create a project on WebRTC. Let me do something similar for a WebRTC project. A simple, the YouTube stream that I don't do it. Let me try to create and break it down into similar, smaller, chunks, and then let's see if that's useful. Class on security measures, sure. Probably 100. Learn written to front end is one. I feel getting to backend the front end is very difficult. I tried it for Chuck. I will create an offline video, of course, for the front end on this one. It will come out this week. So you can look at it. If a single thread and there are 100 users with requests at the same time, it will take 2 seconds for the first user. So 19 users will not be able to send requests. No, so that's the problem. The blocking isn't. Oh, it isn't. No. So this is more simple question. Whenever this await happens, the request for the same person can come in. That means you've not cleared the fundamentals from the beginning. This await doesn't make the thread sleep. The thread is not waiting here. Thread moves on to handle the second request, which also is stuck in the synchronous call, and then moves on to the third request, so on and so forth. Whenever you are waiting, does not mean your thread has stopped executing. This is now handling another request. So if you send 100 requests, first request will get stuck here. Hello, I'm waiting for the database. Let me move on to the second request. And that will also get stuck here, so on and so forth. Once you process all 100 of them until this point, then whenever the first one tells you, okay, this is what you got back, you proceed from here. Then you get stuck here. Then you move on to the second one, so on. So you have to understand. Go back to the initial class. We'll discuss this many times. Why are we doing client-side filtration for such users? If this application has 10,000 users, how will you do client-side filtering? You send all 10,000 users to front end. You want to only send 10 at a time, right? There's also another concept I haven't introduced here, which is like limits and offsets and cursors. You probably don't want to. Our query is sort of an optimal right now. If you have 10,000 users, you will send a list of 10,000 users to the front end when they ask for all the users. You want to send 10 or 20, and you want to add pagination, which is something else for this one to keep things simple. Okay, is this asset properties in transactions in DBMS? Asset is different. Transactions are different. What we've done with transactions. Session in the Mongo is like WebSockets of Express and Mongo. Good analogy. I'm unsure if they use WebSockets. Most probably they don't use WebSockets. They probably send a single request to start a session, and then the database knows the session open. Will be on. I don't know if they use web apps, but this analogy is right. It's a more persistent connection until the session stops. What happens when 2 people send money at the same time to other people? That's fine. They'll execute concurrently. You won't see this. I mean, you can try all this out. But if I did this for the same set of users, then there was a problem. If there are different user IDs here, it will execute almost 100% sure. If we did not know accidentally user beyond. I mean, we did cover it, but high level is dude. It's just an API. I mean, okay, how difficult is this? How to move from fetch to access? I mean, this is like literally very simple. Like, I don't think this for everything, but like this is. Am I wrong on this? Let me do a poll. I mean, there are a lot of beginners here as well. Should I teach Axios in an offline video? Maybe I'm not here, and maybe it is some people. But should I teach Axios in an offline video? No, right. Oh, so 50. Okay, well, okay then. We will cover Axios in an offline video. But like, it should be like a video version of this thing. Okay, I need to be a little more. Custom hooks. There's a video I added from last cohort that has it. I'll also cover it in offline. Have it in like the next set of videos we have to. YouTube. How are we doing? What happens when I try to transfer money from one bank account to someone? Some of the transaction fails. Why do bank tell you to refund 24 hours? Yeah, that is a whole different ballgame. Google Pay in the end connects to like 100 different banks PCA. So that if Google Pay does not know from HDFC Bank what has happened or not, they can't tell you transaction succeed or not. So that is yes, a good question, which if I have to be honest, what case causes that trigger? What triggers Google Pay to be like, now your transaction stuck for 24 hours, will refund in some time? And the answer is there is some manual effort to call the bank by querying the transaction there. That's why that happens. How can I reach you personally? Okay, let's use like keep them. How can I reach you personally? There's no easy way to reach you personally, sir. But headextra.com something important. How to send real-time money using bank server? You mean real money using bank server? You have to put at least 25 CR into a bank account, create a private limited company, go to a bank and ask them for APIs. Very hard to do. What is temporal? Do you know? Temporal in itself, no, I don't know. This is the last thing to drop off. Just answer question now. Please do a video connecting this node application with Postgres and do some CRUD operation, please. We will cover Postgres in detail soon. We will probably, we cover it. I'm sure if you do raw Postgres queries or if you do it via Prisma, but I do have a video from last cohort in which I introduced Postgres, which does do raw Postgres queries if that's what you're looking for. Do bank really store money in our databases? Feels where else do you think they store money, sir? If not in the database, where? What do you think happens when I go to netbanking.hdfc.com? An API call happens that hits the database. Why does it feel scammy? It just feels scary if database goes down. What happens? And yes, it does. What happens if you take down all, what do you call it? All data centers together. What if all wires are cut? You pretty much lost your banks, right? What if every data center of HDFC Bank like burns down at the same time? So yeah. But of course, there is resiliency practices in place. People. Small example here is, every video that I'm uploading on the cloud right now, I'm also backing up on my home. And I'll also eventually back up in my Chandigarh home. So that resiliency like that. So this house burns down, that's what it doesn't matter though. It's my owner's house, not mine. I'm staying on rent. But if it does burn down, everything burns down at the same time. Mine was Zod parsing in slash transactions. You can add it. I mean, I'm pretty sure. What are slash transactions? Oh, okay, yeah, you should add Zod addition. Where's video? Will this be a front-end back-end design of it? I will make a front-end for this connected to the back-end to do it. My learning phase. Still loop, that's with my path. That's why I've always left, Stack Overflow links here, but not ChatGPT links. So that's high level. It's okay to Google, basically. The only thing to keep in mind is when you're writing code, type it yourself. You'll get muscle memory like that, which is super useful because you don't want to keep copy-pasting code always. You can always do it now, thanks to AI, you pick up whatever. But at least get some muscle memory and then stop doing it. Yeah. 100 starts 1st of March. Why can't we inspect bank website in Chrome or other? You can inspect any website. If I go here, right click, inspect, I can inspect whatever I want. You can inspect bank websites. Front end page, there's nothing fishy there anyway, so you can't do much with it. You can't do anything basically. You can always right. When is 100 starts 1st of March? Please use Zoom chat. Okay. What is a CDN? I have a video transfer video from the last one. I'll put it there. It covers it in deep depth. So let me write this down. That's a good video generally to have. that covers like what CDNs, how different from normal servers, like what use cases you need CDNs for, what do you need normal source, so on and so forth. It's a good video. I posted on YouTube as well, but had to take it down because of some reasons. What use cases you need CDNs for, what do you need normal source, so on and so forth. It's a good video. I posted on YouTube as well, but had to take it down because of some reasons. Real world scenarios will help. Where in like applications like these, daily meetup is not anytime soon. I'm going tomorrow, day after to some place. I have to do a poll to understand what kind of meetup it will be. It will be a closer meetup with 300-400 people. Can we do it again like during the week, or will it be a stadium meetup? That's something we need to decide and then go from there. So in the basically, what did I have to write? CDN video post on cohort. All right, thank you, Eunice. I appreciate it. I will try to create more projects. Do you touch typing practice? No. All right, I think the questions are going off topic here. So let's call it. How does betting websites work? I'm thinking of making a video on YouTube. So there. When you cover routing, auth, redux, and a few other topics. We've covered routing, we've covered auth. We've not covered next. Auth is something part of the course syllabus. We've covered that next. But we've covered routing. We've not covered redux. We're covering recoil. Yeah, recoil basically. Alright, guys, let's call it here. What if you want to dockerize it? Can we start multiple instances in different threads? Yeah, you can start multiple instances in different threads. Database will still, do the right blocking. So, what should we next do after the assignment? A few things we can do is like move it to Next.js the front end. Another thing you can do is dockerize it. Another thing you can do is auto deploy it on render as well. Add a CI/CD pipeline. That's all different things you can do. Move it to Postgres. So there are a few things that are mine. Alright, let's call it. Someone said something. Thank you, sir, for answering. You're welcome. Yeah, the good thing lastly like these is like advanced people can move on and do the whole thing, and then basic people can answer questions. So glad that was.
Okay, so let's do another video. Cover this control.
Alright, guys, let's get into the front end bits of this here. Colon 27017, which is why if you look at the cloning, ideally the best way to do it is I can still show you, and then the second command you have to run is docker run, give it a name, give it a port mapping. So MongoDB is running. So these are the two commands you have to run. Once you run them, you should be able to run the docker ps command to see a docker image running locally. Again, you have to whatever pass. If I'm actually able to start from a fresh statement. So I have an empty MongoDB URL, sorry, an empty code, or you can go through all steps to the command that you have to run. If you remember from the last password, first name and last name, /v1/user/signup. If I hit this endpoint, you will see it says user created successfully, and it gives you back a token. Eventually, when we create the website, we will see how and where can we store this token. But for now, I'm just going to copy it over to my clipboard. If I try to send the same request again, it says email already exists. So let me create a few users. So we have a few users in our application to play with. And once I've signed up a few users, let me hit the endpoint to get back my balance. For that, I need to send /balance. The sign up request was post. This one is a get request. It shows me my balance is 6085. This is the initial balance that we gave to all the users, which is a random number of users. Their first name, last name, and password. Accounts has a bunch of balance. Let's say user number 1 was 6085.8. If I transfer this a few times and then again try to check the balance of this user, you will notice it has gone down by 400 rupees because I sent 4 requests to transfer. The first person now has 600 rupees and the second one has 520 because 400 rupees got moved from here to here. This is how a basic ATM application database calls happen. 10 where we discuss transactions in detail. So feel free to implement the class. What we're implementing now is number 1, the front end folder in backend solution project functionality, but I've created and how I've added routing and what does here, which of course you wouldn't have components in my project, but where are these components stored? I've put them in a new directory called pages/signup. Pages/signup. If you look at it, the pages directory has 4 components, which are the top level screens that I need to support. What are the screens that I need to support? It is this sign up screen, there is a similar sign in screen, there is a dashboard screen, and there is a send money screen. These are the 4 routes pointing to components that actually have the code which renders something like this. Before we get into this code, or before we get into what the sign up component looks like, which as you can see is a very big component, we should understand whenever you're doing front end development, you want to break the app down into smaller components and build those smaller components. Once you build the smaller components, it's easy for you to build the whole page from it. For example, if you look at the sign up page, it can effectively be broken down into smaller components that you can build. For example, a heading component, which if you have added Tailwind to your project, which what is the way to do? Go to tailwindcss.com, get started, installation, framework guide, select, read over here, and follow all these steps end to end, which I've already done for this project. If you do add Tailwind to your project as a styling library, then all you have to do for creating this sign up component, this heading component, which basically renders this very big title, is something like this. Export function heading, take a label as an input, which is what should be rendered, and then put that label inside a div which has font bold, text very big for Excel, and pp6, which means some padding on the top. If you put this inside the component, you effectively have a single simple heading component that you've created that you can use throughout your application. Why did I encapsulate it into a different heading component? Because this can be used in 2 places, in both the styling page and the sign up page. Since both of these pages require this title thing at the top, which I've called heading, I can reuse this component that I just created, which is the heading component. And if in the future the designer changes pages, and there is components which has all of these small components that I've created, specifically the one that we were looking at was heading.js, is a gray color inside another div that makes this div centralized on the vertical axis. And then second thing, what do we have? The subheading. This thing right here, if I scroll down, the second component we have to worry about is the subheading component, which again, I would urge you to write this yourself. So if you look at it here, what is the code? It just wraps this label inside a gray color heading component and input box component. I don't want medium. I want this no functionality here. Heading, subheading, 4 input boxes, heading, subheading, 4 input boxes. And then finally, a button, which again, this button, I'll actually this very nice tutorial. This website called Flowbyte. It has a bunch of variations of buttons. The third one I copied, which is this dark button right here, which is what we needed. Remove the things that I don't feel were necessary, and created a button component which has a bunch of these classes like full width and then white color, text, background color, slightly black, so on and so forth. This is how I first built all of these components for both bottom warning, basically this thing right here, which has some the bottom warning component takes label, button text, and 2 as an input. Okay, what do you want to render here? What do you want to render here? And where should the user go when they click on this button? When they click on the sign button, they should reach the sign page. When they click on the similarly login page has another warning at the bottom right here. They should reach the sign up page from there. So I just take that as an input. And if you look at where all bottom warning is used, I've used it. It's basically in the sign page. Bottom warning label is already have an account question mark. Already have an account question mark. Button text is what should appear on the button, and call this button. You can call this a link if you want to sign in. And where should the user go when they click on this link? They should go to the / sign in page. The component inside actually wraps this button text inside a link which routes the user to whatever the input that the component received. So if the component received / sign in, the user goes to / sign in from here because the button text, this text right here, is wrapped inside a link which, if you remember, lets you go from one page to another. All right. This much is good enough for you to create both the sign in page and the sign in page. This is what the sign in page. All right. The input that the component received. So if the component received / sign in, the user goes to / sign in from here because the button text, this text right here, is wrapped inside a link, which, if you remember, lets you go from one page to another. All right. This much is good enough for you to create both the sign up page and the sign in page. This is what the sign in page looks like. Sign in page looks like, and this is what the sign up page looks like. So you can look at the full sign in page. Full sign in page. In the end, both of them use a bunch of components that I have just written. They're very small components, all written and put in the components folder here. If you want to test just this much, npm run dev after you all of these code changes, and if I go to look project ready, the non-frugal manner of breaking it down to small components and then rendering all those components one by one. For example, pages, which is the page that actually renders your. If you look at the first signed in component, signed in page, it looks something, but at least if you look at the code, the app bar has look at all of these components one by one. All of them are basically a bunch of tailwind classes put together. It renders something called the defining component, which is this guy right here, the send me component, which is a single file which I've written everything. I don't really small components because these don't need to be reused in a different file. If this green button, for example, or this avatar component had to be reused, then I would have written it into smaller components. Generally also it's a good idea to break it down. But for this specific component, I just wanted to show you can put everything in a single file as well. That is also fine. There's a bunch of tailwind classes which has everything. The background div, the card, the send money, friend's name, so on and so forth. It still has hard coded values like friend's name. So in the next section, we will actually get into how can we add some functionality to this. We've already written a lot of HTML with tailwind classes that gives us a very pretty page. For example, if I go to /send, you will see a very nice send money page. If I go to /dashboard, you will see a dashboard page, which pretty much looks like you would expect it to. But this is hard coded. The list of users is hard coded. This balance. All right, let's kick things off by implementing the sign up send request to the backend. Then I need to allow amongst the label and the placeholder that I'm getting. I'll do is okay, now in the parent I can be like on change equal to e. And then using this event, which basically is the same event that is triggered anytime the input is changed, I can be like set first name e dot target dot value. We've already done this for simple input boxes. If I had a simple input box here, I could have simply been like on change, set value e dot target dot value. This is something we've done many times. If you have a state variable defined on top, for example, const first name set this we've done many times. Yeah, this is how you can get the value that the user has put into a state variable. Why do you need this? Because eventually when the button is clicked, you want to use this first name and send it to the backend. Now what I've done is, I know this input box has this final input element that the user sees. Input box has this final input element that the user sees on the website. Here, this input element is actually present one component below. So why not make this on change sort of propagate to the parent? That's not what's happening. Nothing is propagating to the parent. The parent is giving a function. Okay, bhai, this is the function that child you should call anytime you change, so that I have the current DOM element that I can get the value from and put in a state variable. So this way, I can create 4 state variables: first name, last name, username, and password. And I can be like, I want these to be populated as that specific input box is filled by the user. So if the second one is filled by the user, I want to change last name to it. What is the benefit of doing this? Why did I do all of this? Why have I updated the input box component to take on change as an input, so that anytime any of these inputs are filled by the user and they click on sign up, I have access to these 4 in form of state variables, so I can send this request to the backend. So if I go here, now first name, last name, username and password are being populated. By whom? They're being populated here. But when does on change get called? It gets called when this native input element may the event triggers, because I say by on change equal to the on change that parent sent you. If this feels weird, you can always rename this to props, and you put props.onChange here. That works as well. But what have we done here? Object destructuring. Whatever on change the user sent to me, that is the on change that we called whenever this input has some keyboard presses on it. This is how these values reach the state variables. And given these values are already in the state variables, what do I need to do next? Anytime this button is clicked, I want to send the backend request, which I can do via Axios or via fetch. I'm going to use Axios because it's a slightly cleaner library. So npm install Axios, and then axios.post localhost 3000 /API /v1 /user /sign up. What is the data I need to send? Username, first name, last name, password. Hakirat, this is an object. Why have you not done key value pair? Why have you not done this? Because in JavaScript, if you know the name of the key and the value is same, you can actually put them together. You don't need to put username, colon username. You could do this, or you don't really need it. If you know the value here and here, the same. Have you not done key value pair? Why have you not done last name, password? Hakirat, this is an object. Why have you not done key value pair? Why have you not done this? Because in JavaScript, if you know the name of the key and the value is same, you can actually put them together. You don't need to put username, colon username. You could do this, or you don't really need it. You know the value here and here, the same. So I'm going to use the slightly cleaner syntax, and then good to go. What is missing? Button doesn't know what onClick is. This isn't the native HTML button. This is a button component you created. If you go here, what do you see? This is the native button. So it does take onClick as an input, thankfully, and it just propagates it down to the native button component. So in this case, things will just work. You can put an onClick here, and it really depends on what you want to name it. You can also name this onPress if you want. You just have to make sure this button component also takes onPress as the object that's destructured here and passes it to the native button. The native button needs to propagate this event back to the parent. And how have we done it? We have said by button onPress, take this as a prop, take this as an input, and anytime onClick is triggered on the native button component, call what the parent gave you, so that this logic triggers when the native button is pressed. What is the native button? This button right here, this same button. So now let me revert this to onClick. OnClick. Now let me save this. And I think we have everything. If I go, what have we done? Let's do a quick recap first. Added 4 state variables, updated input box to take onClick, sign the user up. If I save this, if I go back here, inspect, let me put first name as something, last name as something, email as some random email and password. If I click on the sign up button, what will happen? 1 second. Let me run npm run dev to restart the front end. Let me also open another terminal and run no index to start the backend is already up on a different terminal. So I have backend up, I have front end up. Let's see. There's something obvious. OnPress is not defined. That's my bad. I had changed this to OnPress. I needed to revert it to OnClick. Now if I go here, put some random things here. If I go to the network tab, if I click on sign up, nothing happens. And why is that? Button OnClick equal to Axios is not defined. Most probably I have not imported it yet at the top of my file. So let me do that. Import Axios from Axios. Let's try that one more time. Sign up, and there you go. You see a sign up request goes out. It returns your 411 because email is already taken / indirect inputs. My email is pretty much indirect. So let me rename this to asd@gmail.com and click on sign up. And it crashed the backend. Let's see why did the backend crash. Password is required. User validation failed. Password is required. Seems like I'm not sending the right inputs here. So let's look at the sign up request. Let's look at the payload. Password is empty, even though I did put some password here. Interesting. Seems like there's a bug in my code. Maybe already figured it out. The bug is somewhere here. If I type something here, that is somehow not reaching the state variables because I can see the final password that went out is an empty password. Most probably I'm not setting the right state variables. Here is what I thought, but it seems like the right state variable is set here. This is password. This is set password. Let's try one more. asd@gmail.com. Random name. Oh, first name should be. Let's make this Akira. Let's make this thing. Let's do it ID. And 123 123 123 123. Let's click on sign up. And it failed because the backend is down. The backend keeps crashing. Let me restart the backend. Sign up. And the backend crashed again because the password that went out is still empty. We already figured out why password is being sent as empty. Why is password not being set correctly as a state variable in this fourth input box right here? Let's see. The way I would debug this is I would log if password state value is and then password. Let's refresh and let's see. Password state value is empty. As I put AZ here, I don't see any value being populated here. The same will not be true for first name, last name, and email. If I put email is username, you will see if I change the email changes here as well. Email is the right email here. But if I change password, that is not being changed here. Were you able to figure out what the issue is already? I mean, I wasn't able to. I'm figuring it out as we go. Set password e.target.value placeholder on change e kahan hai? I forgot to pass in e as a state variable. Placeholder on change e kahan hai? I forgot to pass in e as a state variable. If I would have looked at the console, I would have seen an error representing this as well. But the issue was I did not have e as an argument here, and so e was not found as a variable here. If I change the email changes. We go set password e.target.value placeholder not have e as an argument here, and so e was not found as a variable here. Now let me try this one more time. Inspect network. If I click on sign up, the backend is down right now. Let me restart the backend. Again, you should have very strict try catches in your backend so that your backend doesn't keep crashing like this, which mine does right now. For now it's fine. Sign up, and there we go. Finally, we're able to create a user. We get back a token. So let's do a quick recap. What have we done on the sign up endpoint? The button is difficult, which is once. Where do you store this so that all your future requests contain these? What has happened after you sign up? What should happen after you sign up? After you sign up, this is your browser, and this is the backend server right here. After you have signed up, you send the request to sign up, you get back a positive response. Okay, there you goes. There goes the token that you can use. Now that you have this token, you need to make sure all future requests that you're sending, for example, you can send a request asking for who are other users on the platform. You need to send this token along with it. How can you maintain this session? How can you, in the browser, store, okay, bhai, I have signed in once. This is my token. Any future request, please send this token along. The way to do that is local storage. Here we will learn something new, or maybe we've discussed this before, which is local storage. Given that you have this token, where can you store it in your browser so that you're persistently logged? Then when you go to app.1OOxDevs.com, it's you are persistently logged in, right? I don't ask you for email password again. You only give it once. That means this token of yours is stored somewhere, right? That's the token that you're sending to the backend. The backend is telling you, okay, so you have token of yours is stored somewhere, right? That's the token that you're sending to the backend. The backend is telling you, okay, so you have access to 0 to 1 and 0 to 100 cohorts. So where is that token stored in the backend, in the browser? There are various places you can store it. The place where we will be storing it is the local storage. So let's see how you can do that next. Alright, quick recap. We have written the logic for the sign up page. Sign in page should be very similar. Given that you get back the token, how can you store it in local storage is the question at this point. The answer is as simple as this. Local storage dot set item, a key and a value. The key in our case, I'm naming this token. You can name this whatever you want. What this will do is, so whenever I sign up and I get back a token, I'm storing this somewhere in the browser. You'll see very soon that. And now, when I reach the slash dashboard page, I can just send a request with this token, and the backend can return me all the authored endpoints. Wherever the backend is using the middleware, wherever the backend needs the authorization header, I can get that authorization header from the local storage. Let's see this a little better in action. This is my page. Let me put some data, and let me sign up. As soon as I sign up, if you look at the request, it went out, gave me a 200, which basically means the local storage code that I just wrote has run at least once. This code that I just wrote, this response came back correctly, which means this code ran. I stored this token somewhere. Let's see where it got stored. If I go to application slash local storage, you will see, for sign in, where is it? Application, local storage. I don't see it here. This is where I would have expected to see it. Let's try that one more time. Let's see if the code actually ran. If I go to sign up.jsx, if I go here, let me put a breakpoint here. Sign up. And I see that the control does reach here. I discussed this before. This is how you can put breakpoints and see whether or not control actually reached a certain thing. Sign up. Application slash local storage. You will see for sign in. Where is it? Application local storage. I don't see it here. This is where I would have expected to see it. Let's try that one more time. Let's see if the code actually ran. If I go to sign up.jsx, if I go here, let me put a breakpoint here, sign up, and I see that the control does reach here. I discussed this before. This is how you can put breakpoints and see whether or not control actually reached a certain place. Local storage. That looks right. Local storage set item token comma response dot data dot token. What is response dot data dot token? Oh, can you see the bug? I see it. I don't know if you see it. Can you see the bug? What is the bug in this line of code? I have not awaited the axios.post request. Also have to make this async. I forgot to await the axios.post request. So response.data.token is undefined because response, if I log it here, you can actually log things on the console. When you stack it up breakpoint, if I log response, it contains a promise. It does not contain the actual final value. So that was the bug right now. I did not await. Now if I try this one more time, put some random value, put some random value. Let me try signing up. Control does reach here. Let me remove the breakpoint. If I go to application slash local storage, I see token is stored here. This is when things have sort of going in the direction of authenticated applications that can persistently store your sessions, similar to app.1OOxDevs.com. We make you log in once, you stay here forever until you log out. What happens when you log out? What should happen in this case when you log out? Just clear the token. Just either do local storage set item token comma empty string, or do local storage dot delete token. I think that's the right thing. Now, remove item token. Whenever the user clicks on logout, just remove their auth key from the local storage. Whenever the user clicks on logout, just remove their auth key from the local storage. This thing right here, and you're good to go. So you can assume that the user has logged out because now they don't have this token stored in the browser anymore. So they can keep resending requests. The backend will start to reject the requests. So the backend will only accept the requests if they are sending this token in every request as the authorization header. So let's see how you can do that next. We have signed up. Technically, we have the right token here. If I go to dashboard, I should be able to send the request to get back a list of all the users. So let's send that request to get back a list of all the users. What was that request? If you go to Postman, you might remember it was slash you here on the front end. This request is only for people who have signed in. If I move this header, authorization header and send the request, it still works. I guess it's fine. But ideally, this should only be gated to people who are actually logged in, so that only a person who's logged in can get the list of users from the backend. Given backend request already accepts a filter as their name. Say I can just send the request to this specific URL and filter it based on what the user might be searching for, what the user might have here. So I first need to store this in a state variable, and given this value in the state variable, I need to send the backend request to find all the users who have this specific name. If you want, you can also ignore this bit for now. First point is just hitting the backend to get a list of users that you can render here. Alright. For that, let's go back to let's start from app.jsx. Let's go to dashboard. Here is you can see there's a users table or users component. Here I had just hard coded value here. Here I should first initialize it to an MPI and then, as always, add a use effect. It right now runs only once. We will eventually change this to run anytime the input value changes. But for now it runs only once. And what is this guy supposed to do? Axios.get. We put Axios on the top. Localhost colon 3000 slash. What was the route? Let me copy it from Postman. Let's not include any filter for now. Eventually we can add a filter here. We can also remove this for now. Dot then response dot data. What do we get back? Dot user. Response dot data dot user is what I need to store here. And now seems like we're good to go. I have populated the global user state variable correctly. The rendering is already taken care of. That logic I have already written. All I had to do was I send the request to this endpoint, and whatever data you get back, stores that in the state variable here. Given I have this, if I refresh, as you can see, I see all the users. You should probably add some check in the backend to make sure you don't get yourself. You don't want to see yourself here. I have not added that logic, but you should add that logic. Make sure the backend is a little more robust. Right now, it returns everything including you. If I search right now, though, nothing happens. What should happen? I should hit the backend. You can also do front end filtering if you want here. You just filter the front end, this list of users here, const filtered list equal to a list which is a smaller subset of whatever is here. But in the real world, what will happen is you have a million users, so you don't return everything to the user. You have pagination, you see a list of page 1, page 2, page 3 like that, and the backend only returns you 10 items at a time. So in that case, you always send a fresh request anytime the user asks for input here. So let's implement that really quickly. The backend will now filter filter equal to whatever the user has in this input box, which I can store in another state variable. Const filter, set filter, empty string, and anytime the input changes, set filter as e.target.value. Now that I set filter as e.target.value and I'm sending the request directly here. Why is there a red squiggly here? Missed something obvious. is here. Oh, there you go. Filter is remove that. What have I done? Added the state variable, populated the state variable here, and said by the backend request will go to question mark filter equal to filter. Well, this is the dynamic filter variable which is being updated based on the input. If I refresh and write Hakira here, nothing happens. Does the backend request go out? Oh, I know what the issue is. Can you guess what the issue is though, guys? This is a light class display, a very nice boundary. Why is the backend request not going out? Why is nothing happening when I search something here? Dependency array. This filter is being used inside. If it's being used inside, it needs to be passed as a dependency. Anytime the filter changes, this code should rerun, right? And the backend request should re-go out. If it's empty array, it will only happen once. If you add filter, then it will happen once. Save, refresh. Now, if I search for Hakira, you can see I only see 4 Hakiras. Remove it, I see everyone. I search for ASD, I only see these 3 users, so on and so forth. You should add the bouncing here in the real world if you want, ideally. I'm not added it yet. You should, but I'm not going to go into it yet. The common use case of debouncing when someone is searching across values on a page like this. Alrighty, what's up next? When the person clicks on send money, they should go to the send page with the right inputs. For example, send question mark ID equal to other person ID and name equal to Hakira, whatever is the name of the user. So you can see the name here, and when you click on initiate transfer, this ID gets picked up from here and the backend request goes out. So you need to make sure the send money button takes me to a different page. How can I do that? Pretty straightforward. This user's component which renders this button, which is right here, needs to be like on click. It can be an on click or it can be an href. This only expects an on click as input. It can be on click. On click equal to history dot. I'll come to what this is. How can you route from one page to another? Push slash send question mark ID equal to. This syntax seems weird. Let me do this. ID equal to user dot. Is it ID? What do we get back from Postman? Underscore ID. And name equal to user dot first name. This part, let me explain a bit. What is this history? Where does it come from? Basically, we need to take the user from this dashboard page and click on this to a different page slash send page. How can you do that when you're using React Router PROM? On click navigate. You want to navigate the user programmatically.
Okay, so let's take a 10-minute break and I will continue the stream from onwards.